Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Audacity with PS. Wow. And I want to use this time out to appreciate PS for this opportunity to be before your screens at this time. PS is such a holistic man. He's such a role model. I mean, for him to even think about um, hosting a show like this or a program like this permits me, you know. I see how PS is so intentional about raising men that are not only supernatural in terms of what a would expect a Christian as about being a Christian, but men that are holistic across all phases of life. And this is beautiful, right? Thank you so much, PS, once again. Now, if you're on the program right now, I want you to take this time out to like this video, subscribe if you are here to, and share the link for the video with your family and friends because you just don't know who will benefit from this. So do it right now. Right now, right now. I'm watching you. Do it. Okay, great. So today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence and maturity. A beautiful topic, important topic. I think I'm in a perfect shape to speak on this topic, right? But before I get into that, how many people watched Audacity with PS last week with Deacon Shegun Ketiko? That was insightful. That was a power session. And I'm like, when I found out that I was going to be doing this after him, I was like, oh my goodness, that's some high standards to fall by. But if you didn't watch it, I'll just mention a few things. He was talking about 0 to million and how you can make your first million. And at the point, who remembers that point when Deacon Ketiko mentioned that in 2015, his company made $1 million. 2015, that's a big deal. Wow. Wow. And I'll just talk a bit on that before I go into my topic because I'm a teacher. I was raised by teachers, more like that. So when I'm giving a topic, I try to just prepare people's mind before we eventually get into it. Now, at some point, God had told me about how many Christians do not have the capacity in their minds to believe, to receive those praying to God for. And you understand that if you're the new member, PS has emphasized this. We are body, soul, and spirit. We are 3 in 1. We are Trinity, just like our Heavenly Father. You are a spirit that lives in a body and has a soul. You understand why I'm emphasizing this identity because we're talking emotional intelligence. And of course, you know that the focus, the center of that is what? Your soul or your mind. So we are mind, spirit, and body. And you see how God said to me, in church, we say, I'm blessed. Be blessed. Amen. Be blessed. But their minds have limited them. There was a time after service, I saw a girl. I was just reading her. I shook her and I said, I see that you're going to be a billionaire. And she just smiled like, it's not possible. And then I kept shaking her hands and I was looking into her face. I said, identify with it. Identify with it. And she's an entrepreneur. I said, identify with it. Let your mind start identifying with it. Yes, I'm going to be a billionaire. It's not far-fetched. But you just finished praying about being blessed and how God has blessed you, and God wants to bless you. And this is a season of audacity. This is a season of, all those things, that manifestation that the word has spoken about. What does it even mean to you? Now, when you understand and interpret what that even means, then you start coming down to the level of how your mind is grasping. And you see that this topic is fundamental. Success is good. Being a millionaire, billionaire is beautiful. But you will never be truly successful if you do not have emotional intelligence. That's the truth. That's the truth. Because your goal is to be a holistic person. To be a holistic person, you have to come to terms with who you are, first of all, self-awareness. We're going to be talking about that. Who you are, how does your environment interpret who you are? How do you interpret the environment of others around you? Wow. In fact, research shows that emotional intelligence is even way more important than IQ. That's EQ, emotional quotient. It's more important than IQ where success is concerned. It's more important than IQ where success is concerned. So for the next 20 minutes or so that I have left, I hope I've been able to make you see why you need to listen to this. Now, I have 3 essential things to really touch on from the topic that I was given and the highlights. And I tell you something, every single thing where that is concerned is available for you on the internet. So I'm not going to come and say, oh, 5 ways that this. I'm going to mention them. I'm not just going to emphasize them. So, but how you interpret the learning, the message I'm passing to you is what I'm trying to prepare your mind for. See, so even what I'm doing right now is trying to be emotionally intelligent so that I can communicate effectively. Wow. All right, so I go into my topic, emotional intelligence and maturity. What is emotional intelligence? There are several definitions on the internet. I would just like to say that emotional intelligence is your ability to be able to perceive. That's the basic level, the first level of becoming emotionally intelligent. For you to be able to perceive your emotions, understand your emotions, for you to be able to regulate your emotions, for you to be able to manage your emotions. We're going to talk about all of those things. For you to be able to interpret the emotions of others, which is what we call empathy. That's as simple as it can be. But the first level is what? Perception. Your ability to perceive your emotions. You understand that, and you see how I'm going to tie every single thing I started with to this topic. Even when we are all seated in church or wherever level of environment of learning you find yourself. How you perceive the message. You can be in a room where full of knowledge, and you're not learning anything. And you're not learning, not because you don't have the capacity to learn. You're not learning because the way you perceive the message has been limited one way or the other. PS can be on stage and he's saying amazing things, saying God wants it, and 3 different people will interpret it 3 different ways. Wow, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. So you realize that at the end of this conversation, there are certain prayer points that you have listed that will have been the answer is just for you to become more emotionally intelligent. The answer to those prayer points is just for you to become more emotional. They don't even need to be prayer points. There are certain things you just need to observe and, about yourself, how you perceive yourself, how you perceive your environment, how you relate with your boss. So you're praying, God, my boss, let them move her for my unit or let her leave the company. But the wisdom that you require for that situation is just in understanding better your emotional intelligence or developing skills that will make you improve them. So I've defined emotional intelligence, but I'll read what I have in my note right now because I believe that's like the expectation. So emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships empathetically and judiciously. I think I touched on all of that when I was trying to explain. Now, why is it important? It is important for both personal and professional success. Now, there are 5 elements of emotional intelligence. I talked about one of them, which is self-awareness. This is basic. This is where you start from. Literally, when you have 2 successful people or when you have 5 people in a room and you can identify this one looks successful, the honest truth is that the major thing that differentiates them, that distinguishes them, one is more self-aware than the other. That's all. I don't think there's any difference between myself, and I say that to my team members and the members of my team, because we both have capacity within us. The only reason why I'm on a higher pedestal than they are might just be because I'm self-aware. I understand my strength and weakness. I understand and it has given me an edge. So what is self-awareness? It's just you being able to understand you for you, not who your environment defined you as, not who your parents defined you as, but you as you. And guess what? The journey to self-awareness never ends. In fact, you don't start the journey when you are 1 year old, when you're a child. No. The environment, your parents, your experiences have to an extent molded and formed certain perspective in you. And the onus is now on you to start filtering them and defining a path for yourself. So I'm just going to take a moment and share my own personal experience. I started my MBA in 2019 and finished up in 2021 from a school in the US. And one of the most influential courses or course I've ever done in my life was on self-awareness. When I say influential is in the terms of when a course literally changes your life, your perspective, and all of that. I went to school in University of Lagos. I didn't need to do an MBA. I was already a manager, right? But I just knew that I was a local champion because of the picture I was saying I had, right? If I wanted to have a global voice, then I need to expose myself to international education. So I went for it. And the very first course I did was on self-awareness. In the US, your courses, they will give it funny titles. In Nigeria, you just hear physics, maths, this one. But this was self-awareness. I'm like, okay, bring it on. I had the option to choose between two courses and I went for that. And when I started our course, oh my goodness, it exposed me to me. I can't explain the impact. That was the first course I did. I did maybe 15 others after, but I never forgot the impact of that particular course. It opened me to me. It talked about leadership, how a good leader leads people from within them, not from above them. And for you to be a good leader, you will never be able to be good at leading anything. I want you to remember this. If you are not self-aware, you don't even understand yourself. So when I started that journey, I realized how I was managing rubbish before. I was a manager on the book. I was a boss, not a manager. I was not a leader. And it exposed me to it. And before you knew it, it was a different thing entirely. Now, I can speak about practically exhibiting leadership skills. But that real journey started from self-awareness, which is why this is so important. So if you're listening to me right now, you want to go on that journey. If you haven't started already, you want to go on that journey of understanding yourself beyond what your society has defined you, beyond what your parents have defined you, beyond what your closest or best friends have defined you. Who am I? I want you to ask yourself that question. Who am I really? When I do interviews for people in the office, my final question is always, tell me how your mother would describe you. Tell me how your best friend would describe you. If you're married, tell me how your husband or your wife would describe you. In one word, how do you describe yourself, finally? And that is the game changer question for me, if I'm going to decide on recruiting that person or not. So you can be good with everything. IQ, that question balances the EQ that I require for that role. That's all. So self-awareness is so important. You want to go on that journey. Self-reflection, I'm going to touch on that. I hope I have time. And just understanding, who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing the way I'm doing them? That is where you start from. Why does certain thing trigger anger in me? Trigger certain emotions in me? Why do I get excited when I hear money? Why do I get excited when I hear vacation, going on trips? All these things help you understand yourself. How the best way how you start that journey is first understanding that I need to go on this journey, and then you're becoming more intentional about it. You're intentional about it in the sense that you're living your life and you're paying attention to everything. How you relate with your husband, how you relate with your wife, how you relate with your boss, how you relate with your colleague, how you relate with your subordinates, how you relate with people above you. You start paying attention to it and being intentional about it. How you relate to your environment. And guess what? The environment always speaks back to us. That's the truth. The environment always speaks back to us. If only you will listen. Everything speaks to you. Everything can't speak to you if you only listen. So I hope that I've stressed this particular point, because every other point, I said there are 5 personal elements of emotional intelligence. Every other one will fall back on being self-aware. You don't have it, you're building your house on a rocky foundation, right? What solidifies everything is self-awareness. So and I want you to go on that journey and start that journey, understanding yourself, reflecting on yourself. Why do I do the things I do? Why do I like the things I like? Explore what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Personally, I doubt if there's any weakness somebody's going to say to me that will come to me by shock. It's not possible. Me, cannot do that. No. And that's why it's so easy for me to take criticism when it comes. Because I understand my weakness. I've processed it. I understand my strengths and I understand my weakness. I've processed it. So someone comes to me and says, yeah, if it falls on something, I may not have all the knowledge about my weakness, but at least I know certain things. So when the criticism comes, I don't go, hey, it's not possible. Me, I can never do that. So it helps me take criticism effectively. Some people cannot handle criticism. And I'm going to come to that, how you identify what level of emotional intelligence you operate in. Now, if you're listening to me, you struggle with taking criticism. This is so common among Gen Zers. Oh, sorry, we keep saying these Gen Zers. They need to find us, But so common about people of nowadays. In fact, they get a job and within 2 months, I'm leaving. That place is a toxic environment. I'll say, why is it toxic? Oh, my boss said this, my boss said that, my boss said that. They can't undo criticism. Let me tell you what you're really struggling with. It's self-awareness. Because the truth is the truth. You can't change it. If someone tells you, can somebody abuse you and say you're a girl, if you're a girl? Because it's truth. So if you know that it is true, it will not make you feel bad. If you have any weakness, for example, I'm a short person. Once I identify with it, I process it, nobody can use being short against me ever. So you come and say, you are a short person. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know. But some people, they hear that and they just strip off. Wow. So I hope I've been able to emphasize why it's important for you to go on that journey of self-awareness. The next point will be self-regulation or self-management. It just talks about how you manage your emotion. Now that you understand your emotions better, how do you regulate it? How do you manage it? Managing your emotions also relates to how you manage other people's emotions as well. When people have to use certain way, how you observe body languages, how you observe verbal and non-verbal communication. Because when somebody speaks to you, maybe just about 10 to 30% is verbal. The rest, not the rest, but majority of it is non-verbal. You watch out for body languages. Watch out for body languages, That's how you start that journey of what? Managing your emotions and just regulating it. When you understand yourself and develop the skill of emotional intelligence, very few things will get you upset. Very few things will get you to be so hungry. You can't control yourself. So you have someone that has an anger issue. Maybe they need to stop praying, God, take away this anger, take away this anger. They can, let's say they can continue to pray, but they need to balance it with, first, why? Going on the journey of self-awareness. Wisdom. Christ is the power and the wisdom of God unto salvation. So it's not only about power. You don't just wake up one morning and God takes away the anger. You have to process it. Maybe it's just like a weakness. You have to process it, start from the starting. Okay, so that's self-regulation. The third element is motivation. Your ability to want to achieve something. Motivate yourself, self-motivation. All of these feed into what? Emotional intelligence. Motivation. How motivated are you? Are you intuitively motivated, self-motivated, or you always require motivation from outside? If your boss doesn't validate you, you do not feel good about yourself. No. All of those things are supposed to be secondary. There's a primary motivation that you need to develop as a human being if you're thinking success. Because at the end of the day, what is Audacity VPS about? We are raising men. We are raising successful men. We are raising when I say that word, I don't mean you start thinking about I don't know where. I'm thinking excellence. It's not that I've made 50 million, I'm good, 100 million. No. Excellence. Excellence across board. Excellence across board. You know, I've worked with a few people in the new, and if you've had the opportunity to work with me in the new, they know that people like Mrs.Agbebi, she smiles, she laughs in church. But when you work with me, I don't joke with excellence. And they know it. I don't know why it has to be 70% perfect, and we are rejoicing about it. When it could have been 100% perfect. That's extra 10%. Even if it was 80%, that extra 20%, 10% that people give and say, I've tried. That difference, that extra push is excellence. And that's what you should be aiming for. It's not just to be comfortable. It's not just to be okay. I think Deacon Ketiku said something about little comfort is the greatest discouragement to success in life. That's the truth. You don't just, I've got 70. You know, I remember back then, I finished with first class, and if I get 70, I'm not happy. That's the truth. I'm like, why did I get 70 when I could have gotten 90 or gotten 100? And guess what? I have friends like that. I have a friend, he will score 95 and he will cry. I'm like, what is your problem? It was the best student anyways. It was so good. And I'm like, so I had that kind of standard ahead of me because it was a set ahead of me. And I'm like, I can't fall back. So 70, just about 70 was an A, but no. So excellence, self-motivation, self-drive from inside is so key. You see, I'll be talking a lot about self, where emotional intelligence is concerned. And the next thing, I think I have two more, is social skills. Number 4, social skills, building social skills, your interpersonal relationship, your ability to relate to people around you. Yes, you have this temperament and all of that, but when you start thinking excellence, you start thinking holistic, being a holistic human, you go beyond just falling back on what, because this whole temperament thing we're talking about, society handed it over to you. Say, okay, if you are quiet, if you are this, that means you are flake. If you are this, that means you are sanguine. Oh, please. Define your own part. If you ask me what, I don't know what to say. What's my temperament? I don't know what to say. Are you an introvert and an extrovert? I'm not. I'm an ambivert. Yeah. When the situation requires for me to be an extrovert, I will be an extrovert. But when the situation requires me to be an introvert, I will be an introvert. That there is maturity. That there is emotional intelligence. You know, your ability, like water. You know, I tell people I'm like water. What's your temper? Like water. You know, if you put water, put it in a small bowl, a round bowl, it's going to take the shape of that bowl. Take that same water, put it in a square bowl, it will take the shape of that square bowl, it will be square. Take that water, put it in a flat bowl, to take the shape of that bowl. So I'm like water. I'm what I need to be when I need to be it. So I leave that with you as well. Challenge yourself to be that flexible. You owe it yourself, right? When I find myself in that new environment, I react a certain way. I go back and reflect. Why did I reflect? So each time I'm more self-aware. And finally is empathy. Empathy is your ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoe. It's so important. No matter how successful you are, you're not empathetic, there's a problem with that. You're going to struggle at a certain point. You will not feel fulfilled. Success goes beyond the money you have in your bank accounts. Success goes beyond becoming a celebrity. I say this because I coach people. And I'm telling you, people that naturally from the outside, you feel like, oh, this person has a good life. He has everything going, a celebrity. But they feel empty inside. I was on a flight with my boss, my former boss one time. It's a flight, you have to talk. So I asked him, I said, do you feel fulfilled? And he struggled with answering that question. But that's the truth, it doesn't. And I think he said he didn't. So fulfillment goes beyond how much you have in your bank account. It goes into emotional intelligence. How you interpret yourself as an individual. Why do I even want to be a millionaire? Asking yourself those questions. Why do I want to be a celebrity? Why? Otherwise, you get there and you're going to struggle. You realize that this thing I wanted so much. Some of us have a target after the Kinketiku to get $1 million or to get your first million. And I'll tell you this, my own experience. I made my first million when I was in 300 level or thereabout in school. My dear, when I went to GTB and they said this, I said, wow, my work changed, my steps. I was a student. It changed. I had 1 million. I had 1 million because I was doing a lot of businesses in school and still reading. So my work, my steps changed. I felt good. I felt like happy, but it didn't last. 3 days after, I think somebody stepped on me. In my mind, I'm like, do you know how much I have in my bank account? It did not help. My emotion in that. Does he care? I was so angry and it spoiled my day for that day. And I'm like, but I was so excited because I had money in my bank for 3 days. But that third day is as if I counted it. I didn't have a good day because somebody did something to me that upsets me. And that's all. I had money, but I was so sad. I had a horrible day. So it's not all about when you define success next time. Put yourself inside that success. Start seeing yourself inside that success. Not just money, cars, the best you. Success. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how do you practice emotional intelligence. I'm going to ask you a few questions here so that you can understand some of the questions that you need to ask yourself. And you might want to jot this down. You never know. So I have here one, being able to accept criticism and responsibility. Assess yourself. Even as I'm saying these things, start thinking, do I accept criticism? Do I take responsibility for my actions? And all of that. I was talking to my mentor once and he said, Kemi, since I was 26 years old, I made up my mind. I would always hold myself responsible for every action I take. I won't speak so much on that because I already talked about it. So think about that. Are you able to accept criticism and responsibility? Number 2, being able to move on after making a mistake. You just sit there. Yes, I coach people and I see how they've done something new and they sit there, they are bleeding. Oh, I can't move past this. I can't forgive myself. I can't forgive my father. I can't forgive this. There's nobody beyond forgiveness. That's why I tell people. It's your perception about the situation, how they've hurt you, how you hurt yourself. That changes everything. Perception is such a powerful word. It's such a powerful experience. It's such a strong word. Perception is everything, in fact. So thirdly here we have being able to say no when you need to. Are you able to say no when you need to? Or when it's PS is yes. When it's PD is yes. If it's Mrs.Kemi, I can say no. No. You're not true to yourself. You're not authentic. Your goal is to be an authentic person. If we find you in the new, you are you. If we find you at your office, you are you, your authentic self. We find you at home, your authentic self. That's your goal. Not to be no today, yes tomorrow. Glory to God. Being able to share your feelings with others. Are you able to share your feelings with others? There are about 120 emotions. When you're embarrassed, it's different from you're angry. When you're angry, it's different from I'm frustrated. Don't tend to cap everything in one. I'm depressed, which is what we see a lot of times. I try to teach my children about the different emotions. If you are feeling sorry, if you are feeling frustrated, say it that way. Don't say, I'm angry. Frustration is different from being embarrassed. Somebody embarrassed you on the road. Doesn't change the entire day because of that. Focus on the problem. Exclude the person from the problem. Stay outside of the drama that happens outside of you. And focus on it as a problem. Why am I upset right now? Somebody stepped on me, embarrassed me outside. Okay, focus on that embarrassment. Take yourself outside of it. And this is what I tell. See, I'm coaching people now for free. So always learn to separate the person from the problem. Yeah. Next is having empathy for others. Are you empathetic towards others? Do you celebrate some people more than others because of their portfolio, pedigrees, and all of that? Or you are empathetic, whether it's a security man, your house help, your nanny? Empathy. Having great listening skills. That's another thing. Great listening skills. Are you able to listen? Do you listen? Do you really listen? And when I say listen, you absorb. Do you absorb? Your boss is talking to you. Do you listen? Do you listen? Or you're like, my mind, this is how I do my own things. So. And finally is knowing why you do the things you do. I've already mentioned some of those things, right? Knowing why you do the things that you do. Okay, I think there's another point here about not being judgmental about others. Judgmental of others. There's a quote I wanted to say that would have entered very well. If you have not gone, you will not know. If you know the pidgin, you understand what I'm saying. If you have not gone, you will not know. So if you tend to be judgmental towards others because you have not fully understood yourself. For example, if they put me in, you don't know yourself to know what you have capacity to do and what you don't have capacity to do fully, because you have caged yourself. You have put yourself in certain condition. You see, if I'm a naturally nice person, you know, and somebody needs, okay, let's say somebody needs 500 naira and I have 5 million naira and I give them 500 naira. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make me nice. I can't understand. It didn't cost me anything. But if somebody needed 500, I have 500 naira and I give it to that person. It says everything. What that tells you is that from today, as you listen to this, develop empathy. Start taking a step back from judging people, because maybe if you were in their shoes, you would have done even worse than they have. Don't say, hey, me, I can never do that, I can never. You can never do that because you've not been in the position to do that. But the real test comes when they put you in the same situation and you're able to scale through. For example, that's the reason why the devil will only tempt you with things that the devil can't tempt me now to become a prostitute. He won't bother because it's not my default. But there are certain people that's a temptation for them. That's the life they've always known. I won't judge that person. The only reason I'm not thinking in that direction is because my environment, I grew up and everything I was exposed to didn't put me in a position for that to be a temptation for me. And that's all, right? So you start reconsidering your tendency to be so quick to judge other people when you see them, no matter how wrong whatever they've done is. And I'll talk a bit about the 4 different levels of emotional intelligence. What are the 4 different levels? I've already mentioned them in buckets, or from a high level. Just breaking it down now. Low level. You have perceiving emotions. Number 1, like I said, that's like the basic level. Perceiving emotions. Understanding, perceiving how you feel, how others feel about the things you say, perceiving emotions. Number 2 is reasoning with emotions, your ability to reflect on your emotions. This helps you to promote your thinking. Reasoning your emotion. Your emotion is there for a reason. It's important. Your mind is there for it. Engage it. Don't be too lazy to. Don't be too lazy to engage it. Reason your emotion. Why did I get upset in this situation? The next time you face a situation like that, you will handle it differently. Trust me. But many times we are too lazy to process things, to reflect on things, yet we want to be better humans. Number 3 is understanding emotions. Understanding emotions, both yours and others, and how to manage it. And number 4 is managing emotions. Now, this is the highest level of emotional intelligence, your ability to now be able to manage it. Somebody has said something upsetting to you, and within you, you're processing it. You want to be angry. You want to raise your voice, but then within you are processing it. That's management. That's right there. The person is talking. It's spontaneous. You want to be angry as they ought. Oh my God. Permits me. You know, and you want to raise it, you want to raise your voice, but you're processing it, reflecting on it. All of those 3 levels I mentioned before happens within you while the person is trying to trigger your anger. You're perceiving it, you're regulating it, you are reasoning it, you're reasoning it. If I raise my voice now, does it make sense? Am I going to do something crazy? You are understanding it. And then eventually you manage it. Your response to whatever that trigger is determines what level of emotional management you have attained, basically. But it starts from all of those levels I've mentioned. And finally, as I round up, how do you develop a solid emotional intelligence? It's a forever journey, like you continue to learn yourself. When you stop learning about yourself and your environment, you literally become a fool. A foolish person. That's the truth, because the environment and yourself, there's a lot to learn about yourself than you even know. There's a lot to learn about your environment than you even know. So you have to just keep on being on that journey. Now, how do you develop emotional intelligence? Like I said, one is to listen. Start from basic. Listen to people, listen to yourself, listen to people, listen to yourself. Both verbal and non-verbal listening skill. Listen to yourself. Again, go back home after a day, reflect on yourself. Why did I act the way I did? Why did that person act the way he did? Reflect. That's the basic level to start from. Listen. Number 2 is empathize. Practice empathy. You know, practice empathizing with other people. It gives you a better understanding of a specific situation. Your boss is angry with you. You start processing it. You perceive it first. You reason it out. You understand it. And you start working on managing it. Why is he really angry at me? Is it really because I didn't perform well? Or because he had a bad day? Or because he wasn't happy at home? He had a fight with somebody else? I process things like that. And at the end of the day, I end up giving excuses for people, and decide for myself what emotion I want to hold on to. I want to be upset with this person, waste my energy. Do you know that does anybody stay angry forever? The person is angry. Have you ever been angry and you're angry forever? But in that moment of that emotional outburst, that's the only thing you know. Your brain is telling, hey, just raise your voice. Just break bottle. Anybody that has anger management, break bottle. But nobody stays angry forever. It's temporary. Never make a permanent decision out of a temporary situation. That's emotion for you. Emotion everything I've said about emotion, powerful. The mind is powerful and everything. But guess what? Emotions are fickle. They don't have staying power. That's why you cannot stay there. They don't have staying power. They are fickle. They are momentary. And that's why you stay excited forever. You're excited. Nah. So you don't make permanent decision out of temporary situation. And finally, on how to develop, reflect. Learn to reflect. Ability to reason your emotions. Consider how your own emotions influence your decisions and behaviors. How does your emotion influence your decision and behavior? Why do you really do the things that you do? Wow. I mean, personally, I've also enjoyed this session, and I hope you have too. Now, if you have, I want you to drop a comment and tell me what was the highlight for you, what you've learned. Tell us, okay? And you are yet to like this post, share this post. You want to do that right now. I hope I've been able to be a blessing to you at this time. So right now, we're just going to round up by saying the creed. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Great. 3, 2, 1. As sure as God helps me, I will not give up. I will not cave in. I will not fail. I will not fear. I will not die until my job is done and victory is won. I am the new, and I love this church.